Howdy, I'm late. Somewhere along the line, I always think that I have that I can do more things than I can actually do at one time. So I was busy doing some sales for my cabochons that I posted a little while ago, and as a result, I screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. So I guess I'm not infallible. I thought I could handle it. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm late. Hello to everyone who's joining in. Hi, Joanne, Suni, Mary. What am I making today? I am making some earrings, some little connecting link earrings. That a girlfriend of mine had a pair of earrings on a couple of weeks ago when she was here, and she had bought them at a department store somewhere. And I liked them. I thought that they were kind of fun, and I thought, well, I'm going to try to do a version of those. They actually came out quite different than what she has, but I kind of like them. They can be a little bit confusing when you're connecting everything, but if you just take it slow and try to figure it all out, it'll work out okay. I promise. I think. Anyway, hi Paula. Hi Susan. Okay, so yeah, people are joining in. That's great. Hi Carol. If I don't say your name, I'm sorry. I'm not always looking at the screen, so I'm working pretty much off of my cell phone, and I do have this, well, not hooked up to the laptop, but I run the laptop so that I can see the comments because I can't really see them very well on the camera. And a lot of times I have the camera pointing down to where I'm working, so I can't always see them, but I will try to get back to them whenever I can. So today, well, let's say first off, I made these earrings out of 16 gauge fine silver wire. I'm sorry, 18 gauge fine silver wire. And then I got to thinking that maybe that's just a little bit too lightweight. I don't like heavy earrings for myself. These are extremely lightweight, but I was thinking maybe 16 would be better. So I made one earring in 16 gauge yesterday, and this one I hammered, which I actually like a lot better. But you could do it either way. I mean, it's pretty. It's just what you want to do. But the 16 gauge really didn't add that much weight, but I just think it is a little bit more substantial. So that's what I'm going to work with today is 16 gauge. And I will hammer these just so you can see how I do that. Because I am fusing them all together, one at a time, it can be, like I said, a little dicey when you're putting them together. But I think what's more important is when you hammer them, you have to make sure that you're hammering the front piece. You have to see, like sometimes I'll lay it down and see which way they lay, so that way I'm hammering the correct side, if you get what I mean. Although if you had some hammered and some plain, that would be okay too. So I guess it's just whatever you want to do. Hey, Patty. Glad you could join me today. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to need for this project is, like I said, I'm going to use 16 gauge wire. And then I'm using 2 wrap and tap sizes of pliers. This one, the larger one, is 12 millimeters round, 16 and 20. The step, or maybe they're called step pliers, I'm not really sure. And then there's the smaller one, and this one is The largest, I thought it was kind of weird because I put my caliper on there to measure and it comes out 10.5, 7.5, and 5.5. Now, I don't know if all brands of pliers like this are the same sizes, but you know, it would be close enough if it was a full, if it just said 10, 7, and 5, it would be fine too. So, hey, Tammy. Mary, you're asking if it would be challenging to hammer on both sides. Not really, but my experience with hammering on the opposite side is usually one side doesn't, you know, if you hammer on the front and then you turn it over and hammer it on the back, then the front kind of gets flattened out again. It kind of cancels it out. So, I mean, but you can certainly try it. If you try it and it works, let me know. But my experience has been that the reverse side just doesn't texture as well, put it that way. So, okay, so I'm using the two wrap and taps or step pliers, whatever you want to call them. I have some flat nose pliers. I also have a pair of half round and flat. These are kind of nice when you're working with circular things, rings. So you don't have to have them, but they're kind of nice to have in your toolbox if you can swing that. And I have, let's see, a couple of important things here is a ring mandrel. And this is only to straighten out the rings once you've joined them, because with fine silver it's soft and sometimes the rings kind of get out of circular shape, so you can put them back in shape with that. And then also I have a round bezel mandrel for the smaller links, because the top of my ring mandrel is fatter than some of the links will be. So having a round bezel mandrel is kind of a nice thing for those small rings. I have a texture hammer for for texturing the links. You could use the back of a chasing hammer on the ball peen side if you want. That's you don't have to have a special hammer for that. If you have one of these, this will work just as well. Some very fine flush cutters. These are Atronics brand that I like. I like these probably about the best of any flush cutters for fine wire, not for real thick wires, but it works really well on the 16 gauge, so that's fine. I have my 16 gauge wire, fine silver. You could probably do sterling silver wire just fine if you wanted to do that. You're just going to have to flux your pieces and add solder, and then you have to pickle them. So the beauty of fine silver is that you can avoid doing those steps, but you can do whatever you want to do. Okay, what else? I like to have some nylon wire straighteners around. I don't always use them, but it depends. Sometimes this wire gets kind of kinked up when it's rolled and maybe not taken care of as well as it should be. So it's nice to use that just to straighten it out. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to have it. When I'm going to solder, I'm going to use a little honeycomb solder block. It's a little ceramic block and some T-pins. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a little T-pin right there. And that I'll show you as when I go to do it. I'll show you how I'm doing it. Then a steel bench block. If you're going to hammer your texture, a flat file is nice. This one is a number 4, but you could probably use any one that you have. But sometimes when you're cutting the wire, you still get a little bit of a pinchy I always call it a beak, but it's not a beak. It's just a stupid thing that I refer it to, but you might want to just file that off just a little bit so that you get your rings closed properly. I don't know if I'm using a micro torch, just something small like this for fine silver. The heavier or the bigger torches are kind of like overkill, at least for me, in terms of torching the wire. It just, I tend to melt it too fast. So a little micro torch is just perfect for this. Susan, I didn't measure how much wire. That's just something I don't know, I just cut it off the roll as I need it. But if you're gonna buy wire, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I always buy more than I need, but I would say you're probably gonna need maybe 2 feet. That's probably more than enough. But sometimes the rings get screwed up or whatever, and you might have to make a little bit more. So it's better to just have a little extra wire on hand. That way you don't run out. Or you can make more. All right, so I just was putting some butane in my torch. So we have that ready. I'm going to have some utility pliers for when I'm picking up the hot links, and then some a quench bowl with some water in there to quench that out. I'm also going to use a pair of small round nose pliers when I'm making the ear wires. So that's what's on hand. That's what you need. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here. And I have a handout ready to go that I will put in the group page after the demo. That is pretty thorough for what we're doing here. So hopefully all the steps will be clear enough, when you're working with this. So usually watching me is probably the better way than to follow these, but this is pretty thorough, I think, this time around. Okay, so let's get started. All right, I'm going to turn the camera down here. All right, I already cut a bunch of rings when I was working yesterday, and I put a little diagram in the handout of, let's see here, it's on the second page. Oh, it's really small, but you'll get to see the size of the sizes of the rings, and then the quantity of how many you need to make a pair of those earrings. So I don't know how much clearer I can get on that, but I just try to provide you with as much information as I can to make it easier for you. All right, so I've got my wire here, and I'm going to need 2 of the 20 millimeter rings or links. For this, they would go in the center of the earrings. So I'm just rolling this wire around, and I want to have enough to make 2 complete rings. So I'm going to wrap this around like 4 times, and get my little coil here, and I'm going to flush cut this starting end here. So I'm putting the back side of my plier to the wire here, and then that makes a flush cut right there. Then I'm going to turn the pliers over and cut the link or the piece of wire directly next to this, trying not to cut into the coil at all. Okay, so disconnect that, and now I have to turn the pliers over again because this piece is now not flush. Flush cut that, and then turn the pliers over again and flush cut there. And then I'm going to go ahead, even though I don't need this. So I roll the wire, or wrap the wire 4 times around that mandrel. I actually could have had one more link if I wanted it. So I'd just rather be sure that I have enough than come up with an odd piece of wire. All right, so I've got 2 pieces that are flush cut. And it's really hard to close a ring that's completely circular. So you might want to flatten just a little bit, kind of make it almost like a D shape. But what I'm going to do first is find my file. Couldn't have gone too far, could it? Oh, here it is. And I'm just going to give it a light swipe here, just to make sure that there are no little pointy stuff sticking out. And then I'm going to take my half round pliers and kind of deform it a little bit to kind of make a D. Well, I'm not going to make a total D on these. I don't want to bring it that far out of shape. I just want to make sure that I get the ends closed well, so so that I can torch it, fuse it, whatever, and they stay together. Okay. All right. So you can see it's not perfectly round, but that's what we'll straighten it out with the ring mandrel. Okay. All right, so I'll put that aside, and then I'll do my second one. If you feel that you can get a nice tight join and not have it in that D shape, if you feel that you can do that, go ahead and go for it. But the thing with fine silver, if you don't have them really nudged up well across next to each other, as you're torching and it starts to come to the point where it's going to fuse, sometimes only one part of the ring will start to get that heat and start to look like it's going to fuse, and then the other part's not. And what happens is then it kind of, the wire just kind of melts back, and then you have a failure, and you have to cut those pieces off and rejoin it, but then you have a smaller piece than you were planning on. So okay, so we'll hope that it all goes well for the demo, but there are times that things, even though you try your best to get them to be successful, sometimes they fail. It happens to us all. All right, so I needed 2 of those, and now I need 2 of the 16 millimeter, which is the next step down. Or no, I'm sorry, I need 4 of those. But I've already cut, I think I've got those already cut, so I don't want to waste more silver than I need to. Let's see if I've got them. Well, I have 1. All right, I have to make a few more of those. All right. So just rolling that around here. Okay. I did cut that end flush. So let's see here. Cut that little point off. Okay. All right. Your fingers are good tools too. You don't always have to use your pliers, but just depends on what you're doing. Some of these cut. You know what I've found? I think sometimes when you're cutting with the flush pliers, I think it depends on where you're at and the angle that you cut at. I think sometimes can throw you off a little bit. I'm going to just nip this here because that doesn't seem real straight, or real flush, I should say. All right. Okay, so then I've cut a few of these others, so I'm not going to cut more wire or twist up more wire than I need to, because I might need it for another project. So I'm going to, I've already got the 7.5s. These, I'm going to need 6 of these. You don't really need to write that down or anything at this point because it will be in the handout, unless you want to. But I'm going to, oh, I have to disconnect some of these. And I made the other earring yesterday, so I'm just going to make the one today, and that's really, that'll walk you through all the steps. All right. Because assembling it is where it takes a little bit of time to figure it all out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the two 7.5s, and then I'm going to need the 16 millimeter round and a 10.5 millimeter. And then we'll get started with soldering them together. I also, sometimes you get a little overzealous when you're torching, and you melt the solder just a little, I mean, you melt the wire just a little bit, and it kind of gets a kind of not necessarily bumpy. If it's bumpy, you've really gone too far, but it just gets a little bit maybe scorched. Maybe that would be the word. I'm not really sure, but you'll notice a different texture on that, and you can pretty much fix that if you use one of these little pumice silicone wheels. You can kind of just buff that out. All right, so I've got my block here. I don't need this quite yet. I'm going to close my 7.5 millimeter wires first. Got my water set here and my utility pliers. So I'm just going to do these first. I always put the opening, the split, the join in front of me so I can see where it is I need to focus the flame. So I'm just going to warm the whole ring up. It's getting ready. And oftentimes I will turn the ring over. This is what happens when you have flux on your board. As you pull up the board a little bit with it, I'm just going to get some heat on the other side to make sure that it is closed all the way around. But I'm also firing the solder that, or the part of the soldering board. But that'll come off. At least I hope it does. Doesn't look too good right now. All right, let's see here. Quench that. Let's see if I can pick that crud off. That might, oh, I didn't get it. Okay, failure. Well, now that I have flux on this one, I'm going to stick this one in my pickle and I'll use it another time because I want to get that off. I'm going to move over to this honeycomb block because that doesn't have any solder on it. So maybe that's a better choice. The ceramic honeycomb boards are nice, but they do break very easily. So, but even if they break, you can pretty much use the pieces to work on top of anyway. Just give this a little bit more, so that I'm sure I've got both sides. That doesn't look like it joined very well. I would say that didn't do it either. And that is because I didn't have it closed good. That really is all that is. For something this small, that should not have happened. But it's because I'm doing a demo and I'm live, and you know, it's Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And if this one doesn't work, then I'm going to cut a different piece. Got it that time. Okay. Okay, that one's good. All right. Okay, so I have my first two rings. These are the 7.5s. And now to these two rings, I'm going to add a 16 millimeter through the two rings and close it. Okay, so now my solder block is a little bit warm, so I want to position that the join right here away from, close to me, so I know where to zoom in on. What I do with my pin. I don't need my pin at this point, but I need to find it. Okay, here it is. All right, so now that I'm attaching this ring to these that are previously fused on, I don't want to really risk melting these or joining those together to this piece and have a blob, so I want to try to keep my flame pointed away from those two rings, but yet I want to warm everything up. So I'm going to just warm everything up here first and then kind of concentrate on that larger ring here. getting ready. All right, I'm going to turn that over. I think it's already fused, but I want to just make sure, because I'm going to be pounding on it and I don't want it to open up. Okay, so then I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to quench the whole thing. So that is now fused on. So that was the 16 millimeter link. Now I want to add a 13 millimeter link to this. So I'm going to go through the 7.5s to attach this. It's almost kind of like chainmail, but not, because of the fusing element. Well, that's not perfect, but it'll be okay. So now I'm going to use my T-pin to just keep those things out of my way. Come on, cooperate. All right. I'm just putting them there so it doesn't, so that they don't move over. You'll need to quench your T-pin as well, because that gets hot. And that moved up on me a little bit. Let's see if I can do that off of the board. We'll find out. The T-pin isn't as important at this point, but it will be the more that we join on here. I'm doing the reverse side again. Well, not again, but just to make sure that it is fused all the way through. Okay. And then I'll quench it. Quench my T-pin. Can you guys see okay? Am I too far away? Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to texture these, the pieces that I have just put on. And I'm going to, you want to make sure that you're not going to smash the other pieces, so I hold the other links over the edge and just hit it with the ball peen side of my chasing hammer. And you have to move it. Okay. And this is where I would put it through the ring mandrel if it was out of shape, which I'm sure some of them will be while I'm doing this. Now, this is where you want to make sure that you are doing the texture on the same side. So the texture's on this side, so I want to make sure that I texture the top of this one. That little bit of texture really makes the earring sparkle. It catches the light. And I'm not going crazy with it. A little bit is good. All right, so I've got the two on here so far. And they're textured and they're round enough. I'm not texturing these top two. They don't need it. So now I need to connect. Well, I need to solder and connect the large ones. The large piece, which will go through, the large piece will go through the 13 millimeter ring. This one's going to need to get straightened out after it's hammered. So it goes through the 13 millimeter and sort of like behind the 16 millimeter. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. And remember, all the stuff you're working on is hot. That honeycomb board is hot. There's my pin. Put that there so it doesn't move. My split is right here where I can see it. Warm everything up. Trying to keep most of the heat off of those other rings that were previously fused. I always say you're going in for the kill when it's close to fusing together. Go. You can see where it gets liquidy, shiny. Alright, I'm going to turn that over. I think it actually is good on both sides though. Sometimes you get a little more successful in fusing than other times. Sometimes they get a little bit stubborn. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my technique. But it's just so crucial that you back off when you start seeing it starting to get liquidy, because the next stage is melting and you don't want that. Then you just get a puddle. Okay, so that's fused. Now I'm going to hammer this one. And there again, I want to make sure that I've got them aligned right. So I will hammer this one, and then I'll straighten it out with the ring mandrel. This is really an easy technique. You just have to make sure that a few things are aligned right, just so that it works out. Like I said before, if you didn't texture one of them, or you did it on reverse, you could either leave it that way or you could just cut the ring off and redo it. But this is about all you need to reform it. Generally just do it that way without even hammering it. This one might need a little bit. I don't have my rawhide hammer here, but that's what I would hit it with, just to kind of get it back in shape. But that's not bad. Well, that's a little bit bad. And actually, the wire is so soft at this point, you could probably just bend it with your pliers to reshape it. Okay, so we're building. We've got this stage on here. Okay, so now we need to connect another, I believe it's a 16 millimeter. I have to keep looking at my, oh no, we're going to connect a 13 millimeter to the bottom of the 16 millimeter. Bear with me, folks. It's that's where it can get confusing, but that's why I tried to make the diagrams as helpful as possible, so that so you don't get confused. So I'm adding the 13 millimeter ring to the bottom of the first 16 millimeter. Is that what I did on this? Yes. Yes, indeed. Okay, so now I need to fuse this one on. Anybody have any questions or comments? They feel so alone. Sorry, just being a jerk. Okay. All right, so now move this back out of the way. Move this up. Honeycomb board is still hot. Position. Let's see here. Well, you could probably work without the pin, but I kind of like to have it there. All right. So where I need to join it is right here. Just warm this all up. I can see that joined okay. So it's add a link, quench, texture, add a link, quench, and texture. All right, so and then round out the link if you need to. Okay. Hey, Wendy. Okay. Hi, Leah. Elaine's asking, could you put a small piece of copper over the solder rings to absorb some of the heat when you are soldering another ring? Possibly. I didn't think to do that, but possibly that would work. I think the main thing is just to try to keep the main focus of the flame away from the other seams, or not the other seams, but the other pieces, so that they don't fuse together in a mess. All right, so let's see where we are. But I'll try that. I'll try that and see. Okay, so far we're good. We've got these pieces put together. And now our next piece will be a 16 millimeter. It'd be the same size as this one. That's going to go through both this 13 or 12, whatever that is. I think I was saying it wrong. But this is going to go through these two right here. Like that. And then that gets fused together. Okay? Let's always check, make sure that that's where you're at before you do it. Okay, so yeah, that's correct right there. This looks like it has a little bit of a burr on here, or a beak as I call it. Hey, Robin. All right. This one actually seems like it's cut at an angle. That doesn't look too good. Let's see if I can straighten that out. Well, that made it worse. All right. There we go. Sometimes you just have to tweak stuff a little bit. Okay, so move this again back here. Remember, all this stuff is hot. This little ceramic board holds the heat for a while. Well, I guess all the boards hold heat for some time, but actually, all right. Okay. We're moving right along. Winch. That looks good. Save all these little bits that you cut off too, because that's what we make our balls out of. Okay. All right, so you can get tangled up in this pretty easily. And I'll tell you, when I went to tumble the earrings, I connected, I'll show you when I get to the end, but until you get them all on, it's kind of a hodgepodge. All right. So this is the side I'm going to texture. Boy, is that soft after that's heated up. Okay, so here's our progress. Okay, we've got that going on here. And now I'm going to add two, let's see here. I want to make sure I match this one I already did. So I'm going to go through. I'm confusing myself. Okay, so now I'm going to put on I've been calling them 13 millimeters, but I think these are the 12 millimeters. It's not much difference. Okay, so now I'm going to take this 12 millimeter and I'm going to go through the bottom of okay, so I'm going to go through the bottom of through the bottom of the 20 millimeter, the big one. Okay. A hair tickling me. Trying to turn that split so I have better access to it here. Okay. All right. Warm it all up. That looks like I could maybe touch that up there. Just a bit. Okay. Okay. All right. So I need to hammer this side. Okay. So this one kind of got distorted a little bit, but I can still straighten that out. So now we just have the bottom one, I believe, to put on. And we're going to go through the last two rings. Try to straighten this out a little bit if I can. It's a little hard to do with the other rings attached, but it can be somewhat better. And you can move it with your pliers too, a little bit. This half round is nice to use for that. You can kind of pull it out a little bit. That's better. Okay, so now we're going to put that last one on. And then I would use that little pumice silicone polisher thingy to get any kind of little imperfections out from the soldering. And then I would put it in the tumbler for a good long while. At least an hour, I would say, in the tumbler. And then it will come out nice and shiny, and you will be so pleased. Let's see, is this one a better one? Not really. I don't know about where you live, but today it is murderously hot here. And you wouldn't think Northwest Indiana would be hot, but it is so muggy. We had a lot of rain last night, and it is like a steam bath outside. It's, I don't know, maybe 95, and just generally a crappy day. It's a good day to stay in the air conditioner. And stay nice and cool. All right. It's 100 degrees there in Arizona, Suni. Yeah, I figure this time of year in Arizona, it's gonna be hot. But thankfully, you guys don't have the humidity because it makes it feel so much more miserable. I wish we could live in a climate that was like 72 to 75, like all the time. I would be a happy camper. But such is not the case. I'm really trying to stay off of those other rings here, because I'm awfully close to them. I think I scorched this one a little bit too much. I did. Crap. Yeah, that's not a great one. Yeah, that's not good. I almost went through. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a little piece gone. Melted. It's not gone, it's melted. So I'm going to cut this one off and put a new one on. It's not a huge deal. When stuff like this happens, I don't really worry about the waste of the ring or whatever, because I could always melt those down into balls, like I said. You use it on another project. All right, let's hope this one works a little better. Oh, Elaine, that sounds awful. Yeah, I've heard there's a lot of places that aren't getting the rain. We had a downpour last night, which, you know, we could use the rain, of course, but I think you guys have it a lot worse with no rain than we do here. Come on, you little booger. Trying to get that split here away from this. This is where it gets dicey when you have so many pieces on here. But this is the last ring to or link to solder on. Okay. Quench. Good, that's better. It's not great, but it's better. Cindy, same thing, huh? Well, you're Northwest Illinois. Hot and humid, yep. 96 in South Carolina. Oh, Anna Marie, I'm so sorry you have that. You love the heat? Well, good for you. I am not a heat person. I want to stay nice and comfy all the time. All right, I've got the last one to texture, and then I know I have a good friend here that loves the heat too, and she's always working outside when it's like ungodly hot. I don't get it, but to each his own, I suppose. This is where that little frets hammer comes in handy because it's smaller. It can get in there in the tighter spots, but you don't have to have one if you don't have one. Although they make different knockoff brands that are actually quite nice, much less expensive. Okay, so all the pieces are on and they're textured in the right orientation. And I will make the ear wire for it now. You see that? That's not laying right. There we go. Got it backwards. The texture's on the other side. But when I go to tumble these, I'll put the hook on, the earring hook on, but then what I do is I'm going to use like a 6mm jump ring to connect these two double links to my ear wire. So the ear wire is going to go up here. But when I put it in the tumbler, I just open up this link here and attach this in here and close it and then put it in the tumbler like that. So then the links don't get all mixed up because they can easily get mixed up. It's not that you can't untangle it. You can, but it can be kind of a pain in the butt and take a little bit of time. So, you know, why put yourself through that when you can just fix it like that? Oh, okay. I don't know when COVID's going to go away. I wish it would. I don't think it ever will, actually, but it's just, I think everybody will get it eventually, but some people just get it worse than others. Okay, let's see. Now, for the ear wire, it's going to be the standard ear wire that I make. This is 20 gauge fine silver. And I'm going to cut off about 3 inches. That might be a little bit too much. You can find what works for you. I guess it just depends on how long you want your ear wire to be. I don't want them too long that they're stabbing me in the neck. But let's see, I'm going to flush cut this in. And we'll ball this head pin. Okay, let's see here. Don't want to set my phone on fire. All right, so I've got my flame. And I've got my wire. Just put the wire in at the tip of the blue flame, that cone, and the wire just beads up. That bead just draws up the wire like that. And quench this. Okay. So that's a nice ball head pin right there. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and right at the base of that ball, I'm just going to twist or pull that wire. I don't twist it. I'm going to pull that wire up like that. And then over one of the wrap and tap pliers, I'm going to put this in here and just bend it over so it touches the back of that little wire. Oh, I didn't do that right. I put it... Oh, forget that step. Look what I did. I bent it over the wrong part. All right, let's fix this. See, I get ahead of myself and then I don't know what I'm doing. All right, we'll fix that. Got to go over the barrel soon, not over the other part. All right, these are very soft right now, but I'm going to tumble this along with, where's my flat nose? Here they are. I'll tumble that along with the link earrings. Just straighten that out a bit. And I'm going to put a little bend back here so it looks semi-professional. And cut off some of this excess here. There wasn't much waste on that for 3 inches. But I did kind of make this gnarly by making that first bend in the wrong place. But it'll be okay. And then if you have a cup burr, you can use the cup burr to file the end smooth. This is a cup burr if you haven't seen one of these. Like this. It's like a little cup. That's exactly what it is. All right, I'll put that in here. Just kind of round it out a little bit so that just takes any sharpness off of that end of the wire so you don't stab yourself when you're putting your earring in. If you don't have that, you can take a fine emery board and you can just kind of go around there like this with the fine emery board and just get all those little sharp points off of there. So I will attach, oh, here it is. I will attach this to the 6mm and close this up here. I don't have my chain nose. I should have them, but you can dent your wire using the round nose. So that's the thing. That's the project for today. And it's going to go in the tumbler, like I said, for a good hour or so. And then I'll have a matching pair in the 16 gauge wire textured. So I'll have a 16 gauge textured and an 18 gauge non-textured. Either way, you know, these are not a lot of weight. Like I said, I don't like a lot of weight on my ears. I can't handle it. They get tired right away. Or not tired, but you know, they just don't feel right. Some people can take an enormous amount of weight on their earlobes, and I just can't. So that's that. I don't have much of a neck. If I had a long neck, you know, these long earrings are cool. But for people with short necks, you might want to make them a little bit shorter. So anyway, so that's the project. Oh, and like I said, I would for the tumbler, I would take this ring and just attach it to the 6mm top ring and tumble like that. And then that way it doesn't get all messed up in the tumbler. So, any questions or comments on the project? Do they make a nice jig? Not really. They don't really. You'd have to really be doing a lot of head banging to hear them, but no, they don't. But I think they look good, you know. Like I said, I have no gazelle neck, but you know, that would be nice. But I think they're kind of fun. You know, they're different and they're kind of fun. So if you make them, post them, and we'll see how you like them. But yeah, I mean, they're easy enough. You just have to keep track of setting them in the right orientation when you're texturing them, and also when you're assembling them, just to make sure that they're right. But it doesn't take much time to do that. So I'm going to check this out for any little defects and fix those with my pumice wheel, and then I'm going to stick them in the tumbler, and then they'll be done. So then I will post the handout in the group. Show us your bracelet. Okay, this is my bracelet. This was one of the demos that I did last year. I don't remember what month, but it's should be in the files. It's the one that I elongated the links, you know, with the pliers. I can't really remember what I called this, but the links had gone, I put them through the rolling mill. So they have texture on both sides, but the instructions are on the website, and also the earrings. Same thing with the earrings. They're like that. I bought these little, I'll call them dingle balls for lack of a better word. These were pre-made little sterling silver balls on I don't know, just some kind of, there's like 3 little balls on a ring. And I bought them at one of the trade shows a long time ago, and I really hadn't done anything with them, but they're perfect for the bottom of an earring like that. And I did put one on the side of the bracelet, just for a little extra decoration. But that's this bracelet. I want to say this is probably 14 gauge. Not positive, but it feels heavier than the 16 gauge, so that's probably 14. So you could find that in the files on the group page. There's in the announcements, I don't know if everybody's aware of that or not, but in the announcements on the group page, on the main page, at the top of the post, it's a pinned post, and it says featured. It used to say announcements. It says featured now. And I have a couple of them up there. The first one, the original one, has the majority of the videos that I've done. And then for some reason I couldn't add any more to that, so I had to start a second one. So both of those are up at the top of the group page, and they have the dates and the names of the projects. Unfortunately, in the photos or the video page, you know, you'll see all the little pictures of me, you know, for the different videos, but it doesn't say what they are unless you click on each picture. It's a thing with Facebook that I wish they could alter that, so that you don't have to take the time to look, you know, click through each one. And that's part of the reason that I did the index in the featured section, so that you could find the videos a lot easier. So that, and then all the handouts are in the files, so you can find those accordingly. So I'll post, like I said, I'll post the instructions or the handout in a couple of minutes, and any links, any Amazon links that I have for a couple products. But that's really about it. So I don't know what I'm going to do next time. I never do, but I've got a few ideas, so I'll keep you guys posted, but it'll be a week from today. Not a week from, 2 weeks from today will be the next one. Hey, Deb. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you checked in. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that if you do it, you'll post it, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo.